we're going to talk about automatic alignments here. So the first thing I'm looking at is I've started a blank session here. And on the CMM tab, CMM settings and stylus system is green. That means it knows what CMM we have, it knows the stylus we have. We switch over to the measurement tab, and I see that base start alignment is highlighted in yellow. That means it needs some more information. So I'll click on base start alignment. And there's a lot of information in here. We're going to say OK to accept the defaults. All right. I'll drive over, and I'm just going to start probing. So
Manually.
Just manually, yep. I'm using the joystick to probe points. When I touch the first point, I see that it says 0.1 here in the features window. And this features window popped up automatically on top of the base alignment window. So you can just move it out of the way. You can see that this is the active window right now. So that was the first point. I'll come over and touch the second point. And notice that the features tab has updated itself to 2D line 1. I touch again, and now it's updated itself to plane 1. Now I could keep taking additional points, but we're trying to use the minimum number of points as simple as possible. Here's the number one mistake, is if I want to put my coordinate system, let's say, in the lower left here, maybe I would want to come over and touch a line on the front next. But if I do that before I hit OK, when I come touch this next point, that's going to count that as part of plane 1. So the number one mistake is not hitting OK right here. Yep.
You know how you got your first point? What if you didn't want it there? Is there a way to like go back or like choose another point as the first?
There is a way, but the simplest way for right now would be to tell you to restart. Because with an alignment, there's only going to be a maximum of 3 features anyway, so it's usually simple enough to just restart. So for right now, I'll hit OK. And notice that when I did, spatial rotation has been populated with plane 1, and Z origin has been populated with plane 1. For simplicity's sake, we'll say we just set the Z axis to the top. So Z0 is the top of the part now. Now I'm going to go touch my point on the front line, or my 2 points on the front line. I'll touch 1 on the left side of the part. The features window pops up again. I can move it out of the way and see that the base alignment window is still active. If I come touch another point, we see that that turns into 2D line 1. Now again, the number one mistake is to not hit OK. I'm done with this line at this point, so I want to hit OK so that it can be stored in the base alignment window. So hit OK, and I see that 2D line 1 has been stored for planar rotation and Y origin. And for simplicity right now, we'll again say that just set my Y0 to this front surface. Ultimately, I'm trying to get my origin to be right here, so I'm going to touch off to the left side next. In the base alignment window, I see the only thing I have left to populate is the X origin. So I'll come over and touch off to the left side of the part. Now when you do this, be careful that you don't smash the sensor into the part, right? If you're only half paying attention, you might move a little too low, and it's definitely possible to hit this into that. That would be bad. So I touch 1 point, the features window comes up, recognizes that as a point, and in this case, all I need is a point, so I'll say OK, and when I do, it populates the X origin here. Now on the graphics screen, I can see that it updated the origin over to some other spot on the graphics screen. I'll say OK again. Now, one thing I don't like about doing a base alignment like this, I have no CAD file. Now, I could have shown you how to do this with a CAD file. The procedure is mostly the same, but then we have to learn how to import a CAD file on top of all this other new stuff. So this is called the teach-in method. The teach-in method is when maybe you don't even have a CAD file for the part. This part just came off the machine, and we need to inspect it and make sure it's correct to the blueprint. All you have is the blueprint. So how do you make sure it's correct? Well, you got to touch the part itself. You can't use a CAD model to do it because you don't have one. All right, so this is the teach-in method. Now, you can see when you only have plane 1, 2D line 1, and point 1, on the screen, it's really hard to tell if your coordinate system has been set up correctly. It's not like you have that nice gnomon like we had in the last exercise where you can see where it should be on the part. So if we think about it, where should the origin be based on what I touched? Should be at the intersection of the top, the front, and the left side, right? And that would be right about here. So this is why in the manual alignment exercises, we came over to the origin and we just moved, something close to the origin. And then we came over to our stoplight window and we set that to base alignment, and we just make sure that our X, Y, and Z are all set pretty close to 0. And here I see X is at 70 thousandths, Y is at 80, and Z is at 90. So those are all less than 100 thousandths. I'm doing this by eye. That sounds good to me. Okay, so it looks like I set that up correctly. Now, let's, unfortunately, we can't do anything else until we set our clearance plane. Looking back in the measurement tab, clearance plane is right underneath base alignment. So I'll click on clearance plane. And I see we have Z plus, X plus, Y minus, X minus, Z minus. We have 6 different clearance planes we have to set up. It really is as simple as this. I see plus Z is highlighted in pink right now. So I'm going to move the probe so that it's above the Z axis. And then right here on the joystick, we have a little missile launch button, if you will. We'll press that button, and it stores the value in the Z axis. Now, if you wanted to, you could actually just... That's interesting.
Your bonus.
Oh, I put it down on top of the keyboard. That's what it was. All right, so if you wanted, you could actually type these numbers directly in here, but it works just as well to use that missile fire button. So the next one that I want to fill in is X plus, so I'm just moving to the right side of the part. Press the button, it advances to the next one, which is Y plus. So I'll move to the back of the part and store that. Then we have X minus, I'll move over and store that. And then we have Y minus, and I'll move over and store that. Now you actually don't have a Z minus at all in the software. I don't even know why they have that in the software, but if you think about it, how are you going to have a clearance plane that moves off the bottom of the part? It doesn't even make sense when you have a probe that only points down. So we're always going to leave minus a Z blank, at least in this class. And then we'll say OK. It asks you, do you want to update clearance plane settings for defined features? Always say no to this. It makes it look like you want to hit yes, you want to hit no. So now on our measurement tab, base alignment and clearance plane are both green. You would think that you'd move to the characteristics tab next, but we're not. We're going to move to the features tab next. And the reason is we have all 3 features that we just built as part of our base alignment right here. So we have plane 1, 2D line 1, and point 1. That's what we created when we were making the base alignment. So let's slow our speed dial all the way down. Let's hit run. And now we're going to hit the pull down under selection, and we'll set that to manual alignment. And I'm going to make sure that the speed is set to 55 millimeters a second. If it wasn't, I would simply type in 55 and hit start. Now we're right back where we started. We're exactly back to the manual alignment. It's just that this time we've built that ourselves. Here's the other problem, and here's why I didn't want to start here. Notice the graphics screen doesn't show you much about where you're supposed to be touching. The good news is you know where you're supposed to be touching this time because you set your coordinate system there. Right, so we're going to touch 3 points on the top, 2 on the front, and 1 on the left side, and then we're going to confirm it the same way we did when we did the manual alignment exercise. In fact, you're going to be building out those 3 manual alignment exercises that you just did. You're just doing them from scratch instead of starting them with a template. All right, so from here on out, we just apply what we learned in the last lab.
You got a video on that too, right?